This is Russ with Devoted Golfer TV. It's the 2018 PGA Merchandise Show. And once again, I'm with Kim Braley from KBS Chefs. That happened to be named after him, right? KB, Kim Braley. You've been in this business for a few years, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's about the only business I've ever been in.
Yeah.
So I think this is my 35th show.
35 shows.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. And you've done some different things now out of the traditional steel that you typically bring to the market.
Yes.
You started with graphite hybrid shafts.
That's correct. I did some graphite quite a few years ago, but what we did was we wanted to get back into a segment of the market that we currently are not servicing. You want to have, it's kind of like maybe a canvas. You want to have that thing full.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had a section that we couldn't get there. Mm-hmm. With composite materials, you can go lighter. Mm-hmm. And still be able to maintain the integrity and stability in order to have a decent dispersion at the end of the day, mm-hmm. which is kind of what it's.
Where does that come from? Is that like wall thickness?
Wall thickness, OD, wall thickness, material, angle. You know, this is not a homogeneous material. So
I know.
There's a lot that's involved. What we did though, I didn't want to just go straight into the graphite iron business and all that. So what we did was we developed a hybrid shaft last year, mm-hmm. which we talked about.
Right. And
we took that shaft out, and we just wanted to prove that. I used a couple basic formulas that I use in steel on this. There's a lot of steel. When I say there's a lot of steel in the shaft, the guys say there's no steel in that thing, but there's a lot of technology that I use, mm-hmm. have been using for years actually, that has actually been incorporated into this product. Anyway, so we developed the graphite shaft to make sure, it's not like you're not going to sell a jillion hybrid shafts. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure the theory worked, mm-hmm. with a hybrid, mm-hmm. and we could go out on tour and have people hit it and demo it and what have you, and learn a little bit about it in the development of this product. Mm-hmm. Well, the first week we had the shaft out was the first week of FedEx in Chicago. And we got the shafts on Tuesday afternoon, and we wanted to go out and get some feedback.
Right.
This is during FedEx. We're not going to be switching people out or anything.
Right.
Well, by Wednesday afternoon, we had switched out 9 players, including P. Reed, who won. Mm-hmm. So, we're pretty excited about this product already.
Yeah, yeah.
And we sent some over to our guy in the UK, and he had the exact same experience. Mm-hmm. So we knew we had. I mean, we weren't. Yeehaw, we got it done. We continued to do some research, but it was a theory that worked, mm-hmm. and we are able to apply it to the iron shafts as we were the hybrid, mm-hmm. and that's what this is. And again, it has to do with being able to have a shaft that's stable, mm-hmm. and has a good dispersion at weights in steel that we just can't get to.
And so what am I seeing here? I'm seeing like a 50, 60, 70, 80. Yeah.
Yep.
That's certainly below. Well, I mean, what's your lightest weight steel?
Well, we have 80s.
90 Tour.
Well, the 90 Tour is the what I would call the lightest premium shaft we have.
Okay.
We do make some shafts that are lighter than that, but anyway, as far as something that a better player would play, mm-hmm. and I'm not, a better player may have a 60-mile-an-hour swing, or they may have a 120-mile-an-hour swing, but still a better player. Mm-hmm. And in order to get the dispersion where we wanted it to be, mm-hmm. Between these 4 shafts, these are the parallel of the group. We're going to also have a 90, 100, and 110, and tapered, mm-hmm. but they're going to be in the higher stiffnesses. It'll be a dedicated weight shaft, and they'll be in the higher stiffnesses. But this is where the 90% of the sales are.
In this weight range?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
In the parallel tip, in this weight range. People, parallels are very popular with club fitters. And you'll see some similarities to some of the EIs that you've seen before.
Okay. So
one in particular. But so anyway, this goes from 50 to 80 grams at every 10 grams in the parallel. It's available right now. we're not going to do RS and X and all that. This is about.
Yeah, I don't see any labels on here.
Well, it's about
Yeah.
fitting. This shaft is designed for the aftermarket and for the custom departments at the OEMs.
Okay.
This will not be an inline shaft. We don't intend this to be inline. This is a custom shaft. This is for fitters.
Okay.
The way we're doing it is we're using swing speed. This is just one of the parameters, but it's a hell of a lot better than the letters. But obviously, not all 55 gram or all 55 mile an hour guys are going to fit into the exact same shaft. So
Right.
there's tempo. There's other things that are involved.
Right.
But just as kind of a rule of thumb, we're using swing speed for a 6-iron in order to give people an idea where to start, and then they can just kind of go from there.
So these are 6-iron swing speeds?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, get it.
So again, it's just a place to start, and you may find that and again, depending on how you fit people and who are the people that you're fitting, you may find that you need to be a little bit lower than that or a little bit higher than that, depending on the strength and time and all that.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot more to fitting than just swing speed.
Right.
But it is a better way of getting people in the ballpark than putting RS and X on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've never RS and X'd, right? It's always been numbers.
Yeah. Well, my dad invented frequency matching, and you know all about that.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, S doesn't mean a damn thing. Even within my own product line, a C Taper Light S is weaker than a C Taper R.
Yeah.
So you know how it is. And,
well, there's a ratio between weight and the stiffness marking that's on it,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
So you take a 130 gram S and you take a 90 S, and they're completely different stiffnesses.
Yeah, all I've had, the way I explain it, and I don't necessarily completely agree with this, but the way I explain it, it's an X within that category. It's an S within that category.
Right.
Or within that shaft type, within that model.
Yeah.
And, for people, that's good. The OEMs don't want to have shafts on the rack that don't have a letter designation, because the consumer just doesn't, they wouldn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a banner up there explaining it to them, and
Right.
They don't want to do that. So
Right.
so for the most part,
And I can't tell you how many guys come into me and go, I'm an S.
yeah.
Right.
And that's another thing. People get they also all of a sudden find out that they got fit into an R shaft. Well, I've always been an S. I've always been an S. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or it's just
Been there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And in this case, they don't know if it's an S. They don't know if it's that part goes away.
Okay.
But in terms of being able to dial the people in, it's been incredible. We have some really good girls playing it already, and expect to have a lot more.
Yeah.
And actually, the first girl that started playing it was Lydia Coe. She's a PXG girl, and PXG's not far. And Mike calls me up, and I dropped a few samples over, and said that she fit into the 80. And I'm like, well, there weren't that many of them. So you need to bring a bunch more over so we can finish up the set. This is also another shaft that we've just come out with. It's a steel shaft. It's an 80-gram shaft. And this shaft is a super high spin, super high launch. It is a real game improvement shaft.
Okay.
There are some OEMs that will pick it up, but they will not have the same weights that the aftermarket has. The aftermarket are going to have something that are slightly lighter. But it is a good shaft, but it's truly a game improvement shaft, which I've never really designed that something right from the get-go to be a game improvement shaft. This is the S Taper, which is a shaft we brought out late last year, and it is really starting to take off on tour. It's probably in terms of number of players out there in the last 4 or 5 months, more players on the PGA Tour anyway have gone into this shaft than any other. And what it is, it's a mid-launch shaft, super low spin. Spin also affects the dispersion.
All right. Yeah.
And so.
Explain that. Explain how spin affects dispersion.
Well, a ball just doesn't, and this is, you look at TrackMan and all that, well, they talk about backspin. Well, it does spin that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But depending on where the center, depending on the ball, depending on the path, depending on a lot of things that we don't even control,
Right.
A ball moves. So that spin is not always.
It's not backspin. There's
yeah,
an angle to the spin.
There is an angle to the spin.
Yeah.
So that angle, and the further out that angle gets, the greater the dispersion is going to be. The faster it's spinning, the greater the dispersion is going to be. So by being able to cut the dispersion down, I can give you an example of a couple players that had this. Siwoo Kim at Riviera was working with Foley. He knew about this shaft because I talked to him, and we weren't even here. And anyway, Foley went in our bag and found it and brought it out, and he lost 800 RPM on a 6-iron. That's a lot. And so Foley's just, this is it, we're going to do it, we're going to build it, and that's all there is to it. They don't build clubs on tour anymore,
Right.
not irons anyway. So anyway, that was a little bit of an interesting situation, but they did get built.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Pat.
So you took a spin number down,
800
which
800
then resulted in more fairways or more greens?
More greens.
Yeah.
More greens and a much tighter. I can always tell you which shaft that is. If let's say we test 4 or 5 different of the most popular steel shafts on tour. I can tell you which one that is every time without even looking, just because of the dispersion. And it's always on the long side. So anyway, I can always tell you that shaft. I also can tell you on the TGI shaft, the graphite shaft, which is my shaft. And I also I've done enough now that I kind of got an idea what the other shafts look like too, in terms of dispersion, and I know which ones go furthest. So it's been interesting. This is the junior shaft. It's a 560 butt, 580 butt. We're continuing to have people. It seems to be, especially down here, it seems like junior golf is starting to grow. And we've had so much success.
People don't want their kids' heads banged around, so.
Well, you know what? There may be something to that.
Right.
You know, a lot of players are saying they don't want their kids doing that.
Right.
And so there may be something to that. But anyway.
So the 560 and 580, when I first saw these numbers, I didn't get it. This is butt diameter.
That's butt diameter. You know how I am. I don't do things very, I like to be kind of real.
Yeah. So you got little hands.
Yes.
You need a little butt.
That's exactly right. And also that's the number one contributing factor to stiffness, the OD.
Right.
So it gives them a chance to load something. These kids are generally the ones that are the more serious children, the ones that are just coming out of the U.S. kids clubs, which are, made out of fiberglass usually. It's really, how that stuff is. And I mean, like I told you last year, we just came out with the shaft, and about a month after this show, there was a big junior tournament down here, and we actually finished. They had I want to say they had like 11 or 12 categories between the girls and the boys and all the different ages, and out of maybe it wasn't quite this many, but like out of 12 categories, we won 10. It was a dumb number. It was higher than 8. And fortunately for me, a lot of those juniors come out of an academy down the road that a fellow that I work with a lot in developing this shaft. Those were a lot of the kids that were in that, and so we did have a bit of an advantage there. But this thing has been really, really nice, and this is not something that we're ever going to sell a lot of. We just want to do what we can. We want kids to enjoy this game. We want kids to be able to progress. And quite frankly, when they go from that U.S. kid stuff, generally they go straight into something that's just not something they can swing, and start swinging them. You've seen it,
I know it's like.
But get it the right.
Stuff is too heavy.
It's way too heavy, and I don't care if it weighs.
It creates bad habits.
Awful. And people, I mean, as far as the kids are concerned, if the swing weights are in the Bs, great. I mean, low C's, fantastic. I mean, nothing needs to be around DO or C8. Right. I mean, the lighter the better almost. But this shaft being a smaller OD, even at those real light swing weights, it still flexes. So it gives the kid a chance to really develop a golf swing. And again, it's for a little bit more serious kids. And I went to anyway. We've been doing really, really well with it, and that's something we're very happy with. This is a swing speed chart that we use at online. If anybody wanted to go on our website, they could a club builder could pull that off. I'm not sure what else we have here. That's just a picture of a bunch of guys I work with.
Yeah, I happen to know this guy.
Yeah, Larry Bodle. He's been involved in the business a while. Michael Breed does a lot of work with us as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you know, we're looking forward to this. You know, for us, this is a major step for us to go from making steel shafts for so many years and to getting into the graphite. And you know, I've got quite a few intellectual properties from the past and fiber match and all that kind of stuff. But you know, this is a pretty exciting show for us. You know, I'm always really happy with my products. I mean, I'm not going to bring something. I'm not going to have my initials on something that I'm not happy with. Mm-hmm. But this stuff is special, and you'll see it real quick.
Yeah, I'll see it soon. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Ross.